Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. I'll make myself invisible.
How are you?
Um,
How are you, Linda? Are you well?
I'm okay.
You're okay, great. I'll give a quick introduction and then we'll dive into your poetry.
Okay.
It's a bit of a hot, sticky evening here in Vienna. What's it like in LA? What's the weather like there?
It's nice right now. It looks like it's about 72 degrees.
Right, okay.
Yeah. It's nice and comfortable.
Good, not too bad. Well, for anybody else who's joining us, this is Word Sleuth, Word Improv on Instagram. And what is Word Sleuth? Word Improv, we're a kind of a loose community of writers who get involved with a fun challenge online provided by Word Sleuth called Word Improv, where we get given several unusual words and try to put together some kind of story or poem or song. And also, there's these Pass-the-Baton interviews. So I myself was interviewed by Christina, and then I'm now going to interview Linda, and Linda will interview the next writer. That's what Pass-the-Baton does. To introduce myself quickly, my name's Keith Gray, and I'm a UK writer, but I'm now based in Vienna in Austria, and I write for children and teenagers. A couple of my books, just in case, The Climbers is the most recent one, and an older one is called Ostrich Boys. So that's what I do. That's who I am. That's what this is. But today we're here to talk to Linda about her poetry. So a very quick introduction to Linda. Been writing for over half of her life, writing poetry. 5 self-published poetry books so far, published through Amazon on the Kindle. But one of the books, the IGP book, It's Just Poetry, is actually also a fundraiser for health associations and charities. That's correct, isn't it, Linda?
Yes.
That's right. So apart from being a poet, Linda's just a very fine, good soul who writes poetry not just for herself, but to spread goodwill and good feeling and just upliftment to her readers. Would you say that was true as well?
Also, absolutely.
That's good. So anyway, I think what we'll do, we'll kick off, if that's okay. Would you be kind enough to please give us a reading of the Word Improv challenge that you did, that was put on Instagram, your poem that you created around those words that were put on Instagram?
Absolutely. Do I need to start off with the words or just go ahead and read?
It's up to you. Would you like to?
I like to give the words to my listeners, and then they can fill them in as I read. So let me go ahead and pull out the words for you guys. Thank you. Ethology, inscrutable, cavort, prowess, inimitable, megalusional, porcine, and fusillade. I think that's all of them. So here's what I came up with on that. It's only necessary to delve deeply into ethology when in life we become inscrutable and silence becomes demanding. It's just a theory in my mind, while I also delve into some kind of self-understanding. This process takes time for even hard bodies to cavort, to create a law that becomes your sword, your charter, your prowess, and your armor when you need that extra support. In every evening that comes apace, forgot that word, we bow down in inimitable grace as not our bodies, but our minds become megalusional and porcine while we search for understanding during our fusillade of pain, and we're feeling there's nothing left to gain. There's a takeaway from my theory. Don't give up and never stop learning. excuse me, for when we're barely able to keep up with the barrage of trials and tribulations, we learn to appreciate this insatiable yearning. The creation of you was uniquely designed with a love that can't be reassigned. But you have to stop letting hate rob you blind. Instead, practice forgiveness by leaving those grudges behind. Because not letting go, letting God will give you an obese mind. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you very, very much. So, did the words inspire the poem, or did you already have these themes in mind, and you found a way to work these words into what you already had in mind, if that makes sense?
I had nothing in mind. I didn't know what I was getting into, and typically I won't try to write something with words I have trouble pronouncing. So this was new for me, and the challenge was to really create something beautiful out of these words. I had no idea where I was going, but once I started to play around with it, and I really, I had to have all the definitions in my view while I was creating it to keep bringing it together right. It was 100% based off of these words. I had no idea what I was doing with it.
That's really interesting. So that, but would you say that the poem it does follow some themes that you like to play with, and that some ideas that you like to stress in your poetry?
Yeah, all down to the last end of it, where I said, letting go. We have to let go of things. It seems like every time I write, no matter whether I'm writing about the birds or the sun, I always find a way to bring something positive in it that we can incorporate in our lives every day. Me, as I say, I struggle with depression. I've had severe depression for a couple of years now. And getting my way out of it, not just through the writing, but I talk about it to share and stuff. And then I try to find answers, things that we can do just to be better people with our mental health.
Okay, that's interesting. So you feel that writing is a way that a way you can really express yourself, and getting it down on the page is as good as talking to someone about it, maybe. I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you're looking for sort of ways to express yourself with your poetry.
Yes, it's my conversation when I don't have anybody else to talk to.
I know that. I think that's a great description of poetry and of creative writing. Of it's you talking to yourself, but down on the page, kind of thing.
Right.
Sort of feelings out. But in your bio, you said you've been. Sorry, if you can hear a strange noise in the background, I have a parrot.
Your bird. I heard your bird. My sister has a bird too. That's what. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm used to that.
She thinks I'm talking to her when I'm talking to you.
That's cute.
But you've been writing poetry for over half your life, you were saying. So you started as a teenager. Right. So how did you get into poetry in the first place? Was there other poets that inspired you, or was it just
depressed?
Oh, right. Okay.
I was depressed and suicidal, but growing up at home was tough. We had a lot of struggles. There was some abuse and things like that. So like I said, I started writing, trying to understand how to be a person, a mother, a wife, just living in things. My mom couldn't explain any of that to me. So I started trying to figure it out on my own, like why things were happening. It was just a crazy ride for me. And when I started, I just never stopped. It was making sense through my writing.
Yes.
So I started making sense through my writing.
And would you recommend that to other people as well? Would you say, that definitely the writing has helped?
Yes. They need to put creative expression in schools, elementary schools, because kids go to school with heavy hearts. And imagine if they grew up like I grew up, and they don't have an outlet. They should have this in schools. They should have creative expression in school and start that first 20 minutes. How was your day? How was your night? Have kids write about it, not talk out loud, because they're not going to want to. Give them a journal and have them journal, or some kind of way to get them. But it has to be also where a universal, where they can actually see the teachers interacting with them and maybe taking some of their words and creating a poetry with it. I haven't figured it out, but I just think it should be, and it would help kids quit committing suicide.
Well, I think that's a great idea of getting kids to be creative and getting kids to express themselves. I think sometimes my theory is I think sometimes schools are a little bit too much about grading. Everything's got to
Yeah,
have a grade or a mark, and just being creative for the sake of being creative, I think it can be great for mental health. It's funny. I've written about suicide for teenagers as well. My book Ostrich Boys that I just showed on camera, that deals with teenage suicide. So we might be coming at things from a similar angle without realizing it, you and I.
that's true. And I'm finding that to be more prevalent, that the more I speak to the that part of it, the mental health wellness, well, I call it mental health wellness, that other people actually have been doing some work around that. And I'm trying to make some connections with those kind of people too, so that I can bring it back to IJP, the book, and because that's the whole big thing right there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you never know with this going on Instagram, and I know it will. This interview will stay on the Word Sleuth Instagram page, their feed. So you'd be very happy for people to get in touch with you and to reach out and maybe make connections that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. Fingers crossed for that. That'd be great. So you're quite a prolific writer. You do post nearly every day, is it, on Instagram, a new poem or a new thought or something like that?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that lately, trying to put a little food for thought up, and most of the time I'm just taking a little snippet from something I wrote 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
If it feels good or whatever. It's not that I actually wrote it today, but I try to write every day. It's been a thing of mine to get up and write every single day, no matter what. It's like that thing that you have to do.
So what would you say your process is? With this poem you just read, it was really interesting that you were kind of experimenting and you weren't sure where it was going to go or end up. Is that how you describe your writing process usually? You're just getting words down on the page and exploring and following, or do you have a more structured kind of chunk kind of approach to writing? How would you describe your process?
I would say only piece of it that might be structured is I tell myself, write something beautiful today. I do. I have to tell myself sometimes you have to write something beautiful today. You just have to. And then I have to sit down and write something beautiful today.
Okay.
But it's just honestly, it's just in me. I could be taking a shower and things are in my head already spinning about what I'm gonna write when I get out the shower. Like I just start thinking of stuff and then I get down and I write. Sometimes I lay down at night and the thoughts come up, and I always keep a notepad in my bed so I can write down my little notes. Okay, that might be good in a poem tomorrow, something like that. It's just a matter of picking up. I think anybody can do it. Pick up the pen, write your thoughts, period. I always say that God bless me. Okay, 100%. He's been managing me. He knew I would spend a majority of my life alone, and he equipped me with this beautiful left hand and a heart and a net.
So that's so you kind of it's interesting that you're saying you don't switch off. So I don't think a lot of people realise that writing, it's a 24-hour a day job, isn't it? Being a writer, it's you don't clock out at 5 p.m. and switch off. Yeah, it's always on the go. So when you've got a poem in front of you, it's interesting to see. You sent through An Obese Mind, the Word Sleuth poem for me to read a couple of days ago, sorry. And you've included that you edited it. I mean, do you go back to your poetry quite a lot and edit them? Do they take a lot of work before you're happy to share them?
Mm-hmm. It does. It's sometimes this poem right here, I definitely needed to read it a few times, and I think had it not been for the audio that I caught mess up that I did earlier, that I mean, I had already been thinking about it, but when I even came up with the idea of an obese mind, the title of the poem, I needed to put that in the poem somewhere. But I also wanted to bring it into where it made sense to you and let you know what it was. And an obese mind is just a mind full of clutter. You hold on to things and you don't let things go, and then it just gets you crazy. Honestly, you have to start letting things go. People just don't let things go. And I mean, literally, what was one of the words was in here that talked to? Let me see if I can see if I can remember which one. I think it's porcine, but that's the word that meant obese. But they were
Yeah.
related to a cow or fatness or whatever. But then I'm thinking, no, obese can be a lot of. This is probably the first time obese was given a different definition.
Yeah. Well, that was what I found really interesting about the poem, is that obese mind, it could be taken one way and you kind of took it another way. You sort of dug a bit deeper with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because our minds start to swell up with all the shit that we ain't letting go. Excuse me for saying shit, but but I'm one of those too. I know, and it just, honestly, I just think that if we let go, we can live a lot better.
Okay, that's good advice. That's good advice. Would you? I'm throwing this at you a little bit. Would you read another poem for us? Would you mind sort of something from one of your earlier collections? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Be fantastic to hear another poem.
Thank you so much for asking. Here's one of my favorites here. Well, yeah, this is one of my favorites. I was asked, what would you say characterizes a man's soul versus a woman's? And I was asked that question about 3 months ago. And it took me 3 months to ponder on it and to discover that I've never been a man, so I don't know. So I held this workshop to help put this poem together. And I thought we did a great job. The soul is a unified existence, the core of our existence, a universal characteristic that cannot be impugned, but if in poverty, needs to be routinely fine-tuned. Often viewed as tough, but tenderness resides within. Because a man's mind is inescapable of conceiving such a thing as a soul, women find themselves constantly trying to understand how he feels about her while watching him snore, trying to understand how he fell asleep without an I love you, like the night before, trying to understand how though the comfort is love and the safety net is there, he felt no need for those words because it is a love that is shared. Does the soul have a gender? Nah, it does not. However, the soul is universal to gender specificics in that women listen to their inner voice and follow their instincts, whereas men doesn't embody the concept of instincts, but rather look for answers outside, then turn within for guidance. Part of me thinks, sorry about that. I believe if man would allow his feelings of love for his queen, allow his feelings to be just as much heard as seen, the sun and moon would loom, allowing two intertwined lovers' stories to blossom, bloom. There's definitely a clash between a man's soul and a woman's soul. Like yin and yang, they contrast. But because the soul is the spirit of unity and love, all that is divine within within femininity, all that which the active soul embodies are not less manifold than those in masculinity. To characterize a man's soul versus a woman's would take decades of living, loving, engaging, and forgiving.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's fantastic that came from a question. That's sort of the inspiration for that came from
A question.
And there you are, a writer. You can't just give a single sentence answer. You got to give a whole poem. A whole poem
Yeah, I
answers.
wanted to respond the right way to him, you know, like
Yeah.
I didn't know. I honestly, I really had no idea what I was thinking, but and also thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. Um, I invited a lot of men to participate in creating this poem. And I don't think I had as many men in it as women. So, you know, they were just kind of at the mercy, but I didn't want to male bash or anything like that, you know, because a soul is a soul, right? We all have a soul. You know, with men suppress a little bit more than women, that's all.
Well, yeah, I'll let the poem do the speaking. I'll let the poem speak. I think that might be the simplest way. So, it's you use social media, like I was saying. You put things on Instagram quite a lot, and you self-publish your own poetry as well. Are you sort of finding there's a community of poets out there, of writers out there that sort of that might not realise that they can access other poets' work and they can join in? I'm just thinking of when you make an Instagram video. Are you looking for readers or for writers? Are you looking for like-minded souls in a sense? Who are you reaching out to?
Like-minded souls, yeah. Other poets. I think it's just like-minded souls pretty much, but I haven't really made that big of a connection here on Instagram. I'm bigger on my TikTok.
Right. And are you? Sorry, I should have said actually. Although your name's Linda, you're known as Poetess Love, yeah, and on Instagram. And is it Poetess Love on TikTok as well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's how people can find you.
Yeah, people can find me under Poetess Love everywhere.
Okay.
I also have a website of my own. I created a website in 2017, mypoetrykitchen.com. It's a lot of what you get here, but more and different. I'm trying not to have the same poems and the same. So I got some cleanup to do, but my website is the one that is kind of clean.
Okay. And sorry, we can maybe put the URL of that. We can put that in the notes with the video or in the comments, and sort of drive people that way towards it'd be great. And your books are all available on Amazon.
All the books are available on Amazon.com. My first book, I'm gonna go with the first one. This is my first book right here, and its title is "True Love Comes from the Heart." Mm-hmm. I was just testing the waters and getting my feet wet a little bit. I wanted to see if I could do this, right? This was done the same year I did the website. My second book, I'm just going to bruise them because I want to get to IJP. This is my second book, Poetry Kitchen, reading. Thank you so much. Reading for the Soul. I don't even know my own book title. You know what? These are titles within the book, titles of poems in the book. Okay. I thought that was kind of cool to do something like that. My daughter loves this book right here. This is my third book, The Heart of a Woman.
Okay, yeah.
It looks the best. I'm like, okay. Now,
great cover.
I got this book right here. This isn't mine that I wrote, but I'm published in this book. I got published. It's an anthology, and matter of fact, it's an IJP the book. This is my last book that I published, Round Poetry. Okay. And more. This was
why the title Round Poetry? That's quite an intriguing title. What's the
Round Poetry?
Yeah.
Round Poetry was an amazing session of writing. I popped a question. I did a little video and I asked people, I said, if you could find anything in poetry, what will you look for? What would you hope to find on that road you took before? And I asked for one-word answers. And of all the words, it was a load of words came in. And I didn't know I had no idea what I was going to do with it. In round one, round two, that's how the round poetry came to be. So
Okay.
there's 5 rounds of round poetry. And I used their words. I'm just going to share one. And they're all short, matter of fact. They're short poems. The round poetry, I picked the word wonderment. Somebody wanted to find wonderment, happiness, mystery, peace, courage, and survival. I said, okay, what am I going to do with these words? I didn't know what they wanted to survive or anything. So I said, under the clouds of spiritual wonderment and pale dread of happiness lies a mystery, a sense of peace. Courage is the key to survival. Inhale, exhale, release. That's it.
Wow. No, that's great. That's fantastic. I
And
mean,
I mean,
it's
I just thought,
really,
yeah.
it's really, it's so inspirational to hear and to discover what you've done. That just from, you know, having a notepad by your bed, but now you're making the videos on Instagram and TikTok, and you're self-publishing your poetry. I mean, it really is quite inspiring for other poets out there to just get off the backsides and do it. To kind of, you know,
That's what
spread the word. Would you have any sort of recommendations of other poets to read, or would you have any recommendations of how other poets could find a way of finding an online voice, perhaps? Sorry, that's such a big question to ask, but I wondered whether if there's anybody out there that's struggling to get their poetry seen, heard. Have you got any recommendations?
Well, I haven't nobody have seen mine much, so I can't speak to that part. I'm
Well,
still
hopefully
working
now.
on that. I'm still working on getting my poetry out there and getting it heard right. And I mean, just really so much of this book here. This is the book that I'm really peddling to get off the ground here because, like you mentioned here, this book right here is a book. This is the book. I'm just going to share with you a little bit of what's in here. Oh, it's right here. Let me just do this really quick. I recently wrote something about this book because I wanted to reintroduce the book to people. I said I'd like to reintroduce IJP the book. It's just poetry to you. Don't let the title fool you. It's more than just poetry. There's a lot writing on the success of this book. Here are 4 main reasons why. And I think that you would probably need to do something like this with your books to get them out. If it's the kind of book like this where I'm donating money. Number 1, we lost 13 United States servicemen and women while departing the 20-year-long war in Afghanistan. IJP the book has dedicated a special dedication inside. And I do. I gave honor to those guys in this book. These are the soldiers who lost their lives coming out of Afghan. This was important for me to do. So someone found out that I was donating and sent me hashtag Hickstrong. I looked them up. They deal with veterans, military veterans, and their wellness, their mental health wellness. So they get money every single month from the book. I also give to Dee Dee Hirsch Foundation from the book because they deal with mental health wellness for you and I, people like us. Just, I wanted it to be separate. And then I give to St. Jude's because we all know what St. Jude's do. They're incredible with the cancer research and stuff out here. And then the Los Angeles Union Rescue Mission. That's because they help with homelessness and hunger and stuff like that. I've had anything that I've been impacted by. I wanted to make sure that I was able to give something back when the first chance I could.
And I mean, more power to you. That's absolutely fantastic. And again, as I say, I will use the word. It's inspirational to do something like that. To want to give back to all the people that have affected you, that have helped you, that have kind of been there, sometimes in the background for you. I mean, that really is inspirational stuff there. That's fantastic. So the book IJP, and it's available Amazon Kindle.
Amazon Kindle, you can get
and in of it in real life as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
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 And the proceeds go towards those 4 health associations,
Mental health,
charities.
wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's
Thank you.
fantastic. Well, we've been talking, believe it or not, we've been talking for half an hour now
Oh, wow.
already. That's sort
Wow.
of blown
That's
by.
great. Ah!
So I'm sort of going to say thank you very, very much for sharing your inspiration and your poetry and your enthusiasm with Word Sleuth. We've had a couple of really nice comments who've enjoyed the poem. A quick apology. I called somebody Christina earlier, and actually their name is Bianca. They're hidden behind the screen there. Sorry, Bianca. One of the characters in my book I'm writing at the minute is called Christina, and that was just in my... So I don't know if Bianca would like to add anything to the conversation. Hiya, Bianca.
Hi. I had a poetry question because I really enjoyed your reading and the way your voice carries the melody of the poem. I wanted to, just as somebody who creates worlds in my mind, you know, a writer who, my happy place is writing, and I create the worlds that I do not live in. So, is the melody of the words, is the way the sound of the words carry through a poem, and is that part of creating that kind of happiness, that the beauty? I mean, you called it beauty earlier. You know, write something beautiful. Do you? I mean, I imagine it's part of it. I just really wanted to hear your thoughts on how you create that beauty.
Oh, thank you for asking that question. It's just thinking of something magical, something different. It could be I love hummingbirds. I love, you know, I can actually go into one of my coloring books that has inspirational quotes I find to be beautiful to me. And it doesn't have, I start writing about the ocean and it comes out to be about us, you know, like literally. I always find the connection with, even if, and it comes out in a beautiful way, you know, and I think it's because I'm so sure of myself when I write. I'm so sure of myself. I'm able to flow it. I'm able to flow it when I go into recording it. I'm able to.
So the beauty is almost, the flow of the words is almost a byproduct of the thought.
I love that. It's a byproduct of the thought. So if you think good things, you can say good things, you can present good things. Yes, it's a thought process, but I have to think good thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. Those good thoughts are essential, right?
You know what I want to say? I could honestly tell you this though, and I don't mind sharing. I love to share good stuff. What really helped me be more confident in my recording of my poetry is an app that I found called Teleprompter. There is a teleprompter app. It's like teleprompter. It scrolls your words. So you're looking like this, reading instead of reading off your paper and stuff. And it helps. I remember when my sister told me about that, I recorded my first silly poem about a silly dream just because I wanted to test the tool out, and I never stopped. It was try it. When you read and you look at that, I mean, just little simple things like that. And it wasn't free. I mean, it was free at first, but with the free version, you only have 1,200 character spaces you could use. I needed more than that, so I paid that it was one-time charge of $15. So worth the investment.
Teleprompter?
Yes, teleprompter. It's called Teleprompter. Anybody who reads, and I'm gonna put that up here. ELEP. Get that app off your. Yeah, there we go, right there. Get that app.
Because I'm doing that.
Listen, watch it. When you look at that and you read from there, you're gonna feel a whole different you reading poetry.
That's a fantastic hint. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, I'm afraid I think I'm going to have to close us down. Thank you. So it's at Poetess Love on Instagram. It's at Schwarzbianca. Is that correct?
Yes, at Schwarzbianca1, yes.
At Pass-the-Baton, and it's at Keith Gray Writing, and it's
Thank
at
you,
Word
Keith.
Sleuth as well. Word Sleuth, the people behind us. So in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have a brand new writer who Linda will be interviewing, passing the baton on. No idea who that's going to be yet. So please keep your eye on the Word Sleuth Instagram page, and I'm sure this interview will be up for a good couple of weeks for people to look back on. Really lovely to have met you, Linda.
Likewise, Keith.
From Vienna to LA. It's great that we could keep in contact. Good luck with all the poetry and all the writing. Lovely to see you again, Bianca. And if there was anybody out there, thank you very, very much for watching.
Thank you all for being here. Bianca, it's good to see you again.
Happy writing, everybody.
Happy
writing.
Absolutely.
And join us with the writing. Just go to Word Sleuth and write one of your own. It's just go ahead and do it. It's a cool thing.
I got one of your prompts on my radar, though. I got another one of your crazy word prompts on my radar. I'm gonna try to tell. I'm gonna see what I can do with it.
That's fantastic. Bye bye for now.
You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.